from Artisan, CEO of Artisan. That was really good. Packed house too, and he had some really compelling, fun things to talk about. And the spirit. Being in a startup, in hopes of encouraging everyone to stick it out or try it. So we'll hear from Bob in a minute, and he'll do a presentation and we'll do some Q&A. We also run another event at Walnut Street Labs, and that is called Night Owls. That's tomorrow night from 7 to 10. Involves food and drink, beer, pretzels, coffee, whatever you want to bring. More relaxed, not relaxed, we're relaxed, everyone's relaxed, I'm relaxed. It's no chairs, you can chat and do whatever you want, almost. And that's a lot of fun. We've been doing that since January too. So Night Owl, 7 to 10, tomorrow night, feel free to come to that. And we also offer co-working here at a reasonable rate, and you get to rub elbows with people like Mark Ryan-Barzik, and Mark Brummel, and Henry Ventura. Look at that hair. And that smile. And you get to be near a lot of coffee and food, so let me know if you're interested in that. And we also have an incubator, and let me know if you're interested in that. Back to Night Owls for a second, or back to Startup Meetup. Next week, Robert J. Moore from RJ Metrics. After that, there's a little word in there that says Bob.
That's because Robert is a Bob.
Okay.
Also, we had 3 Bobs in a row.
Okay.
So
Iman Gallagher, an attorney, and after that, well, you can check the site. What I really want to talk about is who's demoing next week at Night Owls?
Brandon.
Brandon?
Funnel Optimizer.
Back in the corner, the guy who started Night Owls, so he's back for round 2. He did a startup meetup months ago on his Ruby book, and we're excited to have him do that. And then the week after that, we have a demo of what else at Night Owls?
Instamore from Jason Sherman, which is a real-time video dating platform. And who else do we have? There's somebody in between. But
okay, you can check that out on our site. We're streaming live. If you have a question out there, you can tweet at Ben.
I remember Cleaversoft. It's a game developer that I met at Philly Tech Week. He makes some really cool games. He's going to demo a couple games here.
Okay.
So that'll be our first game developers demo.
Cool. Startup, co-working, incubator, indie film night. Jesse.
Yeah, our next indie film night is Thursday, November 13th at 7 p.m. and doing a kind of a compilation of some short clips and then some from your feature film. It's going to be Andrew Schwab, and that's November 13th.
Andrew Schwab, advisor at the lab, local entrepreneur. So excited to see that. Our last indie film night, there were like 100 people jammed in here. With a keg of beer.
It's 200, yeah, closer to 200.
For real? We have like a Rain Man person in here just counted, or did you track?
I put about 110.
Okay, that's cool. So come to that if you'd like. And sponsors, I'd like to say thank you to a few people. Mary Fuchs in the back. I'll point her out from the CCEDC. She's helped us strategically and financially with the CCEDC with her direction and support to do this event and to really just be focused on highlighting innovation in Greater Westchester. I'd also like to say thank you to Igniter TV. Sean Dominski comes religiously every week to live stream this stuff for free. He just gets to dress nice and wear those headphones, and I pay for parking. I think it's even. No, it's definitely not even. It's huge. All of these videos end up on our YouTube channel in its entirety. And Mike Ludermoser from 23 North you'll see him walking around. He does the 1 to 2 minute vignette that we share all over the place. So thank you to those guys. And Fox Rothschild They provide us great counsel on what we're doing with the incubator. And anybody else that we want to thank? You want to thank anybody?
Thanks everybody for coming.
Okay, so I'm going to let Bob talk about how he got to where he is, and let's figure out how to challenge him with questions at the end. So thank you, Bob. Let's give him a round of applause, guys.
Okay, so as I said, my name is Bob Savino. I'm the CTO of Movin. I'll be speaking today. Next slide. Mostly, about me to start, and then I'm going to get into the emerging digital financial industry. It's basically a presentation on banking, digital disruption in retail banking specifically, and some consumer technology use cases, what's emerging with some modern technologies that are out there today, what's going on in retail banking. And then I'll finish up with a little bit of Movin, what it is, how we're different, and give you some insights on our emerging startup. So if we look at this basic, very simple computing pattern here, let me ask, I guess I'll ask you, if you look at this real quick, what use cases do you sort of think about when you see this computing pattern? Like, what do we do in a traditional, in the world with this kind of communication? So email, et cetera.
Pretty much everything.
Yep, pretty much everything. So, hey, Ben?
Yep.
Okay. Do you think these use cases are expensive when we send an email?
For simple data, probably not.
Yep. And even if we send it 100 times, would you say it's expensive?
No.
Great. So let's ask ourselves a question. Why does it cost us $300 to send $100 100 times in banking? Banking has the same pattern. We're just sending money. We're storing money on a computer. We're sending money to another computer. And it costs 3%, almost 3% on a transaction to do that. So a lot of what's going on in banking disruption is sort of answering that question of why is this, and what can banks do to provide value more than just storing money on a computer and transferring money to another computer. Digital disruption in banking, retail banking, really starts with this huge question, is branch banking dead? There's really a great debate going on that. There's pro-branch and there's con-branch. One of the concerns we look at is something like Blockbuster, who's failed. And the pro-branch or the con-branch would say only digital banks will survive and Blockbuster-type companies will go under. But the pro-branches will say this prediction is yet to come true. Online banking has already came and went, and mobile banking is next, and all the big banks are still here. However, regional banks are suffering today, so we're already starting to see that. Disruptive technologies is another concern on is branch banking dead? So the pro-branches would say, well, we can use technology to innovate the branch. We can do things like teller kiosk to keep the branch alive. But con-branch would say technology is accelerating and the use cases for not are just going to continue to emerge. So for example, we could take a picture of a check today and not have to go to the branch for that. But they might say you need to go to the branch for advice. But we can start getting advice on our computers very soon that's real and meaningful as time goes on. Another concern is consumer value chain competition. So Google Wallet's an example where they're trying to provide value-added digital services, digital wallets, personal financial management, giving you advice, and that would be a con-branch comment. Whereas pro-branchers would say, branchers can offer this advice, we can sell more complex products. Well, Google Wallet's a simple product, we're just doing payments in it right now. But what happens when it gets more advanced and we can do more things in it? Do we really need to go to a branch to talk to an 18-year-old person who just left a McDonald's as a worker? Do we want to get advice from someone like that? Bank-oriented servicing legacy. The concern there is a pro-brancher would say something like, we can come and be human. You can talk to somebody who knows your financial needs and can give you advice one-on-one in person. But the companies like Ally Bank that's very good at contact center because they have no branches. And another concern is physical money. So everyone thinks of branches as cash and checks and coins are used to. But my children really don't know money as physical anymore. And as the next generation comes out, they won't know it either. So the need for a physical branch as physical money goes down in society will basically devalue the branch further. So some people believe cashless society is right around the corner. I can't predict when that will happen, but when it does, and some of the events that are happening, like we see with Apple Pay and mobile payments, when you can send money to somebody, like even $3 tips and things like that very simply, cash will fade away, and it will happen in the next 10 years most likely. digital mobile payments, Apple Pay, et cetera. They're really solving a problem that doesn't exist. People like to swipe their card. It's very simple. But as our founder of Movement would say, banking is something you do, not somewhere you go. And that's really where digital disruption in banking starts. It's the death of the branch. And that's where Brett's journey started and why he even started Movement and why I'm here today. So if the journey for digital disruption in banking starts with death of branch, it sort of ends or the journey begins again with what's going on in the emerging digital financial industry. So I want to tell a story a little bit about what's happening today and what's happening in 10 years from now as a sort of a visioning and consumer use cases that are using technology in innovative ways. So if we look at the technology industry, some of the biggest trends today: social, mobile, big data, cloud, Internet of Things, Web 2.0. These are all known technology innovations that are out there today. The legacy banking industry is traditionally has been dramatically behind the technology industry. And the biggest concern is that there's these digital-only competitors that are really putting up digital businesses that are dependent on these technologies. And a company like Movement does not need to be on the bleeding edge. We just need to be on the leading edge and following these trends. Whereas a company like Chase and Bank of America is dramatically behind in these areas. And my prediction for 10 years from now is that there'll be winners and losers, and these two different industries are sort of converging. Banking and technology are really converging into what I'm calling the digital financial industry. So by no means do I believe like a Chase will go out of business or anything like that, but again, regional players are struggling right now to survive, whereas digital startups, some will fail and some will be successful. And in 10 years from now, we'll be leveraging even more innovative technologies. You'll see the new buzzwords coming along, like Internet of Everything, artificial intelligence, and Web 3.0. Next slide. So if we talk about all these technology trends, again, I don't want to give a speech on what is social. Everyone knows this. Really talk about different use cases happening in retail banking. The opportunity for social for a bank is that you can seamlessly network with prospects and customers, but the threat for social is face bank. So a lot of banks are sort of scared of these modern technology companies and what they might do with these disruptive business models. In mobile, you can increase customer engagement opportunities, so people use their mobile device all day. So that's an opportunity for a bank. But as I said, it significantly values traditional branch banking. So the more people use their mobile phone, the less they go to the branch, the higher the cost per transaction at branches become. And it just makes their profitability for a large bank plummet. If we look at big data, there's this concept of one-on-one CRM. So a big bank, in theory, can provide ultra-personalized products and services. Basically, they can know you better than you know yourself, and they can actually talk to you like an old school local branch might have been able to do in the past. That's the hopes. But with big data, there's also a threat. Companies like Google are literally losing hundreds of millions of dollars every year on payments just to be able to get the data so they can advertise to you. It's very difficult for a bank to compete with that. Cloud, so a big company can leverage the cloud for process commoditization so they can focus on differentiation. So for example, anyone can go to Salesforce.com. It takes multiple weeks to get live what used to take years. And it's a commoditized process. Like doing sales leads is very simple now. You don't have to think about it. You just do it. And you can focus on what you're good at. However, cloud allows a lower barrier to entry for new players. So at Movin', for example, with only tens of thousands of dollars, we're able to run thousands and thousands of customers on our systems already to run in the cloud, which is a dramatic difference from 10 years ago. Internet of Things, so we're all talking about contactless payment at the point of sale, like NFC and Apple Pay. That's the opportunity there to sort of innovate with big banks. The concern is, though, there's greater competition at the point of sale. So that when there's more technology at the point of sale, there's more opportunity for disruptors to come in and make a difference and disrupt companies like MasterCard and Visa. And the last point, Web 2.0. So basically, Web 2.0, anything that's been done to increase communications, improve communications, enables a company to build a more customer-centric enterprise. So you can, in theory, call up a Chase, for example, and talk to them over the contact center. And then when you go online, that's also known that event happened. So trying to track that across products and across services with open communications. The problem as communications improves is that you can get this concept of disintermediation. So these digital disruptors come in and basically just cut out all the middleman along the value chain, which is what's happening every day. It's really it's a very competitive environment right now with emerging technologies. So now I'm going to go into each use case and what's happening today with social and some of the innovative things out there with each one of these emerging technologies. So as an example for social, Simple Bank is using a Facebook-like social CRM. So traditional bank, you might have to fill out like 7 or 8 forms and tell them exactly what your problem is before you could even type something in on the web. Whereas a Simple, you just sort of log in, it looks like Facebook, and you just sort of talk to somebody and they help you out. And it's very easy for them to translate that into a Facebook social message out there to say, hey, look what good service I did for a customer. Or they have the concept of creating like a viral effect by inviting friends and giving rewards on that. I mean, no bank would even think this way until a company like Simple starts to do these things. The next example is on mobile, so point of sale disruption by PayPal. So there's lots of talks about Apple Pay, but honestly, Apple Pay is really not that different. You still are basically transferring a credit card through a terminal over the internet. In some capacity, you're transferring your payment credentials. But PayPal really is disruptive because what they're doing is over-the-air check-in. So I can call that using digital in the physical. And what they've done is basically you find a merchant over the normal sort of internet over mobile, and you check in. And then the merchant uses a point-of-sale device like an iPad with a PayPal app on it to basically do an ID verification with your photo. And then they trust you, and then they're basically linking the payment, just like you're on the internet, you're shopping on Amazon, they're linking it that way, and there's no reason to actually transfer payment credentials. The reason this is disruptive is because these devices you see where you swipe, Visa and MasterCard, they're thousands of dollars, and you have to, it's very expensive for a retail company to transfer them out. But an iPad's only, a cheap iPad, an old iPad's only $100. More importantly, it's software now. It's not physical hardware. So merchant can use it for multiple use cases, and they can actually have more payment network choices, which is what's happening. You see companies like Square come along and disrupt the point of sale with these concepts, and PayPal as well. So once you'll start seeing, you probably already see it at the mall today in some cases, you'll see more and more point of sales just be simple tablets. There'll be massive disruption here. Basically, anyone now can play. It's not just the big guys. PayPal's coming in as an example to do this. They're actually doing their normal PayPal thing, and then you can use the traditional networks, Visa, MasterCard, et cetera, and the traditional accounts, just like PayPal does. But the motive is to use their Bill Me Later account. So this is what's called an over-the-top model. They're actually coming over the top of the traditional players and eventually trying to direct the value provided the customer to their own services. It's extremely powerful, and this is why I think this model is both consumer-friendly, and I think this might be a winner moving forward. The next is big data. So banks are investing dramatically in big data across the value chain, from marketing through customer attrition. Measuring and improving marketing ROI would be something you would use with big data. I've heard many CMOs say that 50% of my marketing spend is successful. I just don't know which 50% it is. So with big data, there's a lot more insights into that, improving that. With sales, you can actually sell to customers based on what their needs are versus what you want to sell them. That's a very powerful concept. It's dramatically different than the traditional sales approach, and big data enables that. How about improving loan decisioning during fulfillment? So as an example where you really use big data, typically people are using credit score. But moving forward, why not look at your internal structured data, finding a similar customer, finding out that that customer in question actually searched your website and read about your products with unstructured data, and merging that with their social data. So if they're let's say they're in their late 20s or something and they don't have any Facebook friends, that maybe they're odd, and if they're in the gray area, you don't give them a loan. And if they have lots of Facebook friends, you do give them a loan. So banks are actually experimenting with using all these different data sources to basically make better decisions during a loan process for people who might be in the gray area, which helps the consumer and helps the bank. And there's all kinds of other use cases as well for big data. With cloud, I worked for Wingspan Bank in '98. We spent almost over $100 million putting up a distributed computing environment with IBM and McKinsey and all this great stuff in this beautiful world's first online internet bank. But after a year of work and $100 million, we got our first customer in, and we only got thousands of customers. There was no way it was ever going to be profitable. But in 2014, Moving and Simple is able to use the cloud. We're using Amazon Web Services. We're using all these ridiculously modern technologies and ridiculously cost-effective technologies. For less than $10 million, we're able to get a living, breathing bank up with thousands and thousands of customers which is dramatically different. We can basically be a lean startup. We can test and learn. We can see what the market needs are, and then we can move forward from there, versus spending an entire year in a waterfall process and spending all this money and not knowing how it's going to pan out. Internet of Things. So let's talk a little bit about what's being emerging as Wallet Wars 2.0. So when you hear about mobile wallets, you often hear only about payments, because it's like these greedy corporations are going after the payment because that's where most of the money is. But in reality, the mobile wallet's biggest value is aggregating your valuables and literally turning your physical wallet into a digital wallet. It's not just about payments. So you can certainly pay at the point of sale. But what if you could also maybe apply for a credit card at the mall, you see an ad and you tap it and you put it in your shopping cart and you come back later and apply for a form. So these are innovative things we might be able to do. But really the holy grail of where value can really be provided is integrating all these different valuables in the wallet into a seamless experience. So an integrated commerce experience, you walk into a store, they already know you somehow, maybe your license is in your wallet and they trust you automatically. They already know your payment device, so it's sort of digital and the physical, as we already talked about. They might throw you an offer and a reward, and there's value for the consumer, there's value for the merchant. And this is basically the future of what we hope some of these wallet providers are going to be able to provide. Very difficult to achieve this. I mean, Apple has the best chance of doing it, and they're really the only ones with Passbook that actually created a cross-valuable wallet, if you will. But to be good at all these things at once is very hard, so it's going to take many years for anyone to sort of win the space. And really, there'll probably be no one winner, if you will. There's going to be multiple players in each one of these categories. And Web 2.0, as I said, we all know it obviously enables open information flow. A company like USAA has been able to leverage that. They have their normal channels like any bank. They have their normal products like any bank, but they have this almost beautifully designed customer-centric technology solution. That's allowed them, USAA grew up as digital. Most of their interactions are digital. But when you communicate with them across any channel, they know you really well. They know that it happened. We all know if you call up any one of these big companies today and call back, they don't remember what even happened. And they certainly don't remember if you email them and try to call them often. They don't know what happened as well. USAA has been able to solve that problem. They are customer-centric, so everything they do, they know you as a human. They don't know you as an account or many accounts. So they know you across your accounts. They know you as a person. And because of that, they're able to provide cross-product advice and bundling. So quite literally, if you look at the USAA website, it's all about advice. It's all about life moments first, and then about their products second. Their entire taxonomy is that way. So because they've architected their enterprise this way, because of this open information flow, they're also able to have a consolidated member experience team. Literally 10,000 people are doing almost the same job to be able to service customers in a seamless way. If any big bank could actually replicate this architecture, I think they'd be much more profitable than the rest. It's very hard to do. So that's today's technologies, how they're being leveraged. I'm going to do a little bit of visioning forward. So let's talk about what happens with Internet of Everything. So today, if you look at Amazon, if you're in an Amazon shopping cart, they try to steer you to their payment instrument, which is their Amazon card. You could argue that the Amazon card is in the customer's favor because they're cutting out the middleman. They're basically giving you better pricing when you actually do that payment, and they give you a reward when you do it. But a company like TD Bank in the physical world, they might spend millions of dollars on a Super Bowl ad so you know their logo, so you stick it in your physical wallet when you go to a store like Wegmans. And that's how they win wallet wars in the current state. But maybe 10 years from now, what if there's like a physical digital shopping cart? So as you're putting items in your cart, this digital shopping cart that already knows you, again, a very Amazon-like experience, is basically ringing up your tab. And at that moment when you're deciding on your payment instrument, their top of wallet can again be steered by the merchant. So quite literally, all the merchants are trying to do this very thing. It's sort of in infancy right now, but as the physical and digital converge, this sort of model is you'll start seeing that more in the retail space. And again, I believe it's much better for the consumer in the long run as these things happen. Another example, artificial intelligence moving forward. So we all know that Google now, Cortana, et cetera, are all getting better and better at this. And in the next 10 years, it's going to get dramatically better. I think AI, at least in the consumer space, will actually make a dent. But if you want to vision forward what this might do in banking, think about what happens in Starbucks today. You have multiple accounts, you enter a card, you transfer balance, you can close your account. You can do this in a few swipes in a minute. So my mother, about 2 years ago, gave me a Starbucks card for Christmas, and I typed it into my app, and I ripped it up on her. And she got really mad, but I was digital, so that's, you know, it was a normal use case for me to do that, and I was able to basically just merge it with my normal account in minute. But in the future, what if we took tomorrow's smart wallet, and we took the power of Cortana, Mint.com, and Google Wallet, and we merged it together, and we had a consumer algorithm that would automatically find out that you have a better rate at another bank. They instantly provision you, they transfer your balance, and they close the other account, basically switching banks in a couple swipes in a minute. Sounds crazy, but the technologies are emerging to let this happen, which will obviously increase competition, which again helps the consumer. So we're hoping that Moving 3.0 can do this. This is one of the things we are visioning forward on as we move forward. And the last example, Web 3.0. So as the semantic web emerges, you know, communication and money flow will increase even further, which will continue to increase competition. So if you look at your normal model, your big bank account, they try to take from your deposits, send it over to the payment network in your traditional rails. All these providers, digital wallet providers, digital wallet account, merchant accounts, alternate payment schemes, they're all emerging today. You don't see them quite out there because they're only maybe penetrating about 1% of the market right now, but it's happening. As an example, in the last 2 years, I've been able to take my TurboTax return and send it to Amazon with no retail bank in the middle at all. They gave me 10% on a couple $1,000s to do that. I mean, what bank could possibly provide that? That's like 3,000% interest in a year. So that's already happening, and if this model continues, you're going to see more and more of those kind of things moving forward. Disruptors like Movin are doing this very thing. We're basically trying to wrap a regular bank account with some value-added services beyond just, again, storing money and transferring money. So Movin right now is differentiating with financial wellness management, and eventually we'll get into commerce. However, if we give you an offer, because we are baked in financial wellness management, if we give an offer, we want to give it to you in a way that you can afford. We're not just going to give you something that you don't need. And basically leveraging these new technologies, the Web 3.0 technologies as we move to improve the competition. And to finish up Innovator's Dilemma, next slide. So all these different use cases I've brought up, we have the brick and mortar banks on the left, hybrid sustainers. If you look at Clayton Christensen's work in innovation, the dilemma is, how do I serve my current revenue stream with these legacy technologies and be modern at the same time? And that's why he's calling them a hybrid. It's very difficult for a company to do that. But the disruptors like Movin, Ally, Simple, et cetera, are only using modern technologies. And it's not just about technology leverage. It's also about how do we use those technologies to actually enable completely new models, like the PayPal example I brought up, that have completely new paradigms using the technology to the fullest advantage. So this is a very complex topic, and I spent a couple years actually consulting, helping the legacy companies not get disrupted. So now I've been to the other side. I literally had to change the colors on this. It used to be the good guys were on the left and the bad guys on the right. And now I switched it last night, so now the good guys are the disruptors. There is an innovator solution out there. There are patterns to fight disruptors, and again, I don't want to give those secrets out because I'm rooting for the disruptors now. So that's all I have on the emerging digital financial industry. I think it's a wild topic to think about what's happening in retail banking disruption. And now I want to go into a little bit about what Movin is and what we're doing to disrupt the market and help consumers. So Movin's basically a debit account that helps you spend and save smarter. We've completely inverted the model. Whereas today you go to a branch and you eventually get a mobile app if you're lucky and you go through all the fulfillment processes. With Movin, you download the app first, you complete a financial profile so we care about who you are, and then you make your purchase and you receive a real-time spend notification. So the idea is, the only way to really help people spend and save smarter is to get them in the moment. Whereas before you might go to an ATM machine and spend a couple $100 cash as you go, we want to help people track that digitally as they go along. And we basically give them a spend meter that in real time, the moment they get that transaction, they get a push notification The push notification lets them categorize the transaction. So if you're familiar with mint.com, it's very overwhelming to have to categorize hundreds of transactions at the end of the month to get your budget right. We're trying to do it in real time because we believe consumers will have a much better chance of actually getting it done, as well as using big data to make the right decision on what category it should be. But most importantly, if we can get you in the moment, we can show how your spending's doing, we immediately run the algorithm, and in seconds, you get a message and you get a new spend meter that tells you how you're spending. And the idea is that if we get you in that moment, the next time you're spending, you'll make better decisions moving forward and not run out of money by the end of the month. You can also do things like review your spending health, and then we have the normal sort of modern digital banking technologies like sending P2P payments, sending money to friends, and disintermediating Visa and the like. So to really understand Movin', if you want to play this video, this gives you a sort of a backdrop on the consumer use case.
Silent movie, that's pretty
Yeah,
fun.
so
Instant notification telling you about your spending, how much you spend in a category, and how you're spending overall. Welcome to Movin', an account that tracks where your money goes instantly. With Movin', we make tracking your money as easy as spending it. Every time you make a purchase with your Movin' account, you get an instant notification telling you about your spending, how much you've spent in that category, and how you're spending overall. We do all the categorization and work for you. Now you know if you're able to afford to go to dinner with a friend. Right from the app, you'll get a glimpse of how you're spending. No more guesswork or fuzzy math. We also let you do all the things other debit accounts let you do, like pay friends and make transfers. So when your friend picks up the tab, you can send them money instantly. You don't even need their email addresses. If you're Facebook friends with them, you can send them there. We know that no one leaves home without their phones, so why not turn your phone into a wallet? With our payment sticker, you can stick it on your phone or on your keychain and pay everywhere MasterCard PayPass is accepted. So, unlike paying with cash or credit cards, where you don't know where your money goes, Movin' keeps you in the know about where your money is going. Download Movin' today so you can spend, save, and live smarter.
So hopefully that gives you a real-life use case of what's out there in the market right now. And we are an MVP product right now. So we are testing and learning on it. One of the test subjects is my wife, and so far she's spending and saving smart. That was one of the employee perks. So let me describe a little bit of how Movin's different. So basically, we're taking traditional digital banking, credit, retail banking, deposits, payments, and the normal customer service. We're merging it together with financial wellness management. So we have this concept of a real-time receipt we talked about, the real-time spending meter. We have this thing called MoneyPath that helps you kind of see how you're spending over time. So again, you can change your behaviors. We're using your full financial profile. We're not just using what we know about you, but we're trying to understand all your banking relationships so we can make better decisions for you holistically. And of course, we have this modern approach to transaction categorization. And we're blending it with innovative technologies. And we all know it's not about these technologies, it's about how you leverage them for this sort of disruptive business model. So we have mobile, social, real-time analytics. And it's very special technology-wise to be able to swipe your card and literally in 2 seconds get a push notification and run real-time analytics on our server farm. I mean, I think we counted the number of servers that goes through. It's like 68 servers or something it goes through to make that happen, which is crazy, but it works, and it works well. And so Movin's basically the nexus of those 3 different domains that a mint can't do, that a retail bank can't do, and we're trying to do it in an innovative way for the customers, in the customer's favor to help them spend better. So why Movin'? If you think about the past, when people use cash and checks, especially checks, financial wellness tracking was a checkbook. So people would actually balance their checkbooks. I remember learning this in school. I don't think my kids will learn it, but something that we used to do. We don't do it anymore. And when you went to, the basis for customer advice by a bank was what the bank knew about you, and you would go in physical person to get some advice. And currently, we use plastic cards. We use them like crazy. We all go into debt. When someone gives you advice at a bank, they're only knowing about you still. And in reality, this wallet wars they're going after is really slowly siphoning dollars from you and the merchant, and really almost price gouging at this point. In the future, a large bank, they'll become digital, they'll use Apple Pay, etc., but their motives won't change. They'll still be giving you advice only in their favor. And again, instead of being a physical world, it'll be a digital world where they're charging this 3% to transfer money. So in Moven's future, our thought is, even if the banks caught up with our technology, it wouldn't matter because they don't have a model where they can be motivated to be on the customer side. So because our cost is so low to serve a customer, we can actually provide much better pricing than a traditional bank and value at the same time in financial wellness tracking. We can truly be on the customer side and provide all these digital tools to make a difference in your life. And our decisioning is based on, our advice is based on your full financial profile. So we pull in all your accounts, including your moving account, to make these decisions with our hope, our real hope, our oath is all based on actually helping you and not us. There's more to Moven than just the consumer business we talked about. So at a high level, we are a digital bank that is basically Moven, the consumer side. We have actually blended together ourselves a traditional core banking technology system in FIS and a real retail bank in CBW. So this is, again, an over-the-top model we already talked about. So we have our traditional banking on the left there, and then financial wellness is a big differentiator. But the other thing Moven's doing is Brett's basically world famous with banking executives. This model that we put together in business in the US was so powerful that international banks wanted some of it. So we're basically selling it globally. We're going to be selling financial wellness management portion of our technology, almost like software as a service model, to international banks. So they'll have their own retail bank, their own core banking, their own digital banking, but we'll be selling a piece of our product to them, and Moven will become an international brand. So our model is to prove the model first in the US business. It's sort of the MVP style, testing and learning, disruptive startup. Build a product, sell a portion of the product. So if you think about a motorcycle company, like they might make engines and also sell the bike itself in the US. And they're really good at making engines, and they sell the engine to a competitor in another country. That's what we're doing, or a non-competitor in another country, so they don't have to compete. So we're going to sell the product globally. We're going to run the product, so we're going to go from what we have thousands of customers now to millions of customers overnight with these bank partnerships. And then we're going to enhance the product. So we're getting this sort of blend of innovative startup, testing and learning, trying something out in the US, validating it's working, explosive growth, with a spike overnight of millions of customers in other countries using it and validating the solution. The banks are interested in this because it's very hard for them to innovate based on all the discussion we just had earlier. So they're basically using Moven's B2C business as almost like an innovation lab. We prove it and we send it overseas to be used. And then this is like a flywheel. So the idea is that we are constantly innovating in the US. We're building up this business, and then we're keeping the business sustainable based on revenue internationally with large banks. So very hard to get off the ground, of course, but once we do, we believe it's going to be extremely powerful. If you look at what we're doing internationally, Moven we acquire customers, we market, sell, fulfill to customers. We have account management like any bank. We manage the customer, we manage your account, we manage your transactions. Our differentiator is down here in this communication paradigm that we have. So whereas a traditional bank has all their big channels, we have lots and lots of little digital channels that we think will be highly effective and modern, and we're working on a smartwatch, for example, and then financial wellness management is a differentiator. So banks have all these products, but they don't have financial wellness management, and they don't have these modern digital channels. So basically our mission when we go internationally is to merge these two together into a cohesive solution. So to finish up with Moven, my hopes is that we'll be here. That's my goal. In the future, in 2024, we want to be one of the survivors and be part of this digital financial industry. And this is a little background on Brett King. So he is our founder. He predicted the death of branches, quite literally. Even up to 3 or 4 years ago, I was working in this space for a large bank. Every year, branches were going up and up and up. So if you looked at the trend and you extrapolated out, you'd say, surely these are successful. Well, he was screaming 5 years ago that they're not going to be successful. And surely enough, about 2 years ago, banks started realizing that, and they're now getting out of branches at an alarming rate. People just don't need to go there anymore. There's just no reason for it. really, it's the future potentially is like if you think about an insurance company, you go to an office in a nondescript area. You don't go on the corner anymore into some high profile area for retail banking. We are building what I'm calling this the Move In Digital A team. So we've already hired in only a month about 8 or 9 people. All these people are different job families. Some I've worked with before, some I haven't. And we're trying to hire the very best and brightest in each one of these job families. If you look at the kind of people we've hired, everyone's has been in about 3 to 4 startups, 3 to 4 financial institutions. We've got about 15 to 20 years experience on average for this initial team. So our thought is if we can build this sort of mix of business and technologists in one sort of team, trying to model off of Amazon's pizza team, if anyone's familiar with that. It's basically an autonomous team that can make business decisions and build technology all in one. So it should be a very powerful team moving forward. We are hiring app engineers and full stack engineers as well to build this team up. Senior mobile app engineers, full stack engineers, the two. Now that we've filled all our senior roles, we're also looking at developer roles. So that's all I have for today. Get moving, hashtag get moving, and then moving.com iPhone and moving.com Android. I was hoping everyone could try it out. Let us know. You can send me a personal email how it's doing. Again, it is MVP. This team that we're building in Philadelphia right now is, again, only 4 weeks into a job right now. So we have a big job to do. We have about $8 million in capital, and that's going to basically run us for the next couple of years, as well as a lot of revenue coming in from international banks. So it's an extremely, it's really like almost a dream job at this point, right? But very, very challenging dream job. So.
All right, thanks a lot. We'll do some Q&A. How cool is introduce yourself really quickly. I just have to say, you must really like big challenges. It's a big mountain there, but it seems like you're well on your way to the top.
Kyle Hudson, 23 North Digital. I thought it was interesting how you said you're working with international banks. Because I know internationally, like in Japan and Europe,
Yep.
RFID chips and stuff like that is commonplace, and we're
Yep.
still on the magnetic strip system. So
Sure.
why are we so far behind, and what are you doing to overcome that hurdle?
Why is the U.S. so far behind?
Yeah.
It's a good question. It's really it's more than just technology, I guess. So the U.S. started off on plastic cards, and they sort of worked, whereas other countries didn't even have that at all, and so they kind of skipped to the next generation. So if you look at M-Pesa in Africa as an example, it's a purely mobile-only money system because they don't even have branch banks, right? So so they grew up on the modern technology. The other reason we're still on plastics is because Visa and MasterCard, they basically have a monopoly, and they have no incentive because of all the things I talked about to get out of that model. When it's physical, they have much more control. It's harder to switch. When you make it digital, they're scared. MasterCard, if you think about it, their name doesn't even make sense. It's MasterCard. Their cards are going away. They're literally trying to change it right now to MasterPass. So I mean that's hundreds of millions of dollars for them to rebrand. So that's the main reason. It's really a timing thing, and then market forces not wanting competition. Make sense?
My name is Mark Barzik. I'm at the lab here with viewer. My question is, banks and financial institutions are very tightly regulated. So what, if any, does the regulatory environment look like for a company such as Uber?
It's a good question. So we have some advantages because we're smaller, number one. So we're not regulated by OCC. Our official bank, CBW, is a Kansas bank. So we can basically act like a regional bank in a U.S. national context. That's very big advantage for us. When we get audited, so CBW, we get audited as a whole. So if you think about what Movin' is to CBW, we're kind of like a big branch. So CBW has to make sure that their branch is working because it's the only way people can get money in and out of it. So we don't get off the hook on that front, but again, being smaller, we can be more nimble. But yeah, I mean, we have to be regulated just like everyone else. We can't break the rules. We have to keep an eye on it. But I think a lot of it has to do with the team we have and the talent we have. We can sort of root through those regs very quickly and do smart things. Whereas big banks, they read the hundreds of pages of regs, and by the time it gets down to the developer to do something, it's been translated 10 times. And I have lots of experience with that and how that goes, and often what's getting developed and what's really needed is dramatically different. And what happens often is a big bank will overdo it. They'll actually interpret the regulation against the customer and add more friction. because they're scared, because otherwise it's better for them to do something that's conservative than risky when they're not controlling it directly.
What's your name?
Matt Monzalewski, MindSight Concepts. I read an article this morning about, I think it was like 479 million records that were like compromised
Yeah.
on like U.S. banks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you speak to like technology about like security or anything, or like have an experience with the user in mind?
Sure. So there's almost two classes of security in my mind. There's sort of enterprise class security, so you see the big breaches that are happening across the entire customer base. And then there's the individual security, like on my phone, how do I authenticate myself? On the first front, what's the question specifically?
It's more
How to handle
like
it?
security with the user. Like,
User.
Yeah.
How are we handling it?
Yeah.
So I will be honest, we're going to be very aggressive. There's banks in other countries that we're modeling off of a little bit that are allowing a lot of non-authenticated information to be seen. So banks, and even US banks, are experimenting with that. Like, why can't you get your balance on your phone without a login? As long as we know your device, we can kind of trust that it's okay to send you your balance. It's not that proprietary or private for a customer. So we will be aggressive with that to lower friction. There are single sign-on models that are emerging out there. We have Facebook integration, so there's a single sign-on model there. So I would say overall, that is our goal, is really to reduce friction. The other thing is during fulfillment, as an example. So today you go to a branch bank, you get a lot of forms, they take your license in, etc. We don't have the technology yet, but we're getting there. We were thinking of using the mobile phone to like take a picture of your license, for example, automatically scan it in. So it simultaneously removes friction and also authenticates the customer who they are, who they say they are.
We got a security person in the house. Andrew, do you have any things to say? He's chatting with his BFF. Andrew, do you?
Here is the and black hat.
Well, I have a different question. My question is around, so I do consulting for financial services, and the big thing with the big banks, they say, well, even though people don't use branches for transactions, they really drive customer acquisition, almost like giant billboards, using the location.
Yeah.
You can see that in how they acquire customers. So how do you get through the noise as a startup when you don't have those branches and you get large customers out spending a ridiculous amount on advertising?
Good question.
Is it
So
working now for you guys? Are you still figuring it out?
we are testing and learning that. So one thing about Movin is it was an MVP before this team came along the last month, and we got this $8 million investment. So there was really, what's that?
I've got one.
Yeah. Okay. So good. So we really never had a real marketing budget until now, and we haven't even started spending it yet. So out of this $8 million, we've got a good chunk to do some real marketing. We're going to start off with digital marketing. We're using Sapien Nitro, it's a very good digital marketing company, and we're trying to get very, very smart at how we digital market. Our goal is to acquire a customer for $25. Simple Bank does it for about $100. A retail branch bank costs $300 to $400 to get a customer to fill out a form and open up a $25 checking account and leave. So we don't want to be cheap about it, if you will, but we want to be smart about getting the right kind of customers in the door. And right now we're able to get customers about $40 in some of the early experiments that we're doing. And they're very early, so we're only going to get better at digital marketing.
Right.
The other thing is, again, we're marketing the app. So in theory, once a customer commits to downloading an app, they're a little bit further along than someone just going to a website and abandoning very quickly. So that's one dynamic. It's basically getting very smart digital marketing. And the other dynamic on that is customer centricity. So we want to find customers that are the right segment for us. We're not looking for volume right now, per se. We care about it, obviously, but we'd rather have a smaller amount of highly valuable customers that fit our model. And so that's part of the smarts of the digital marketing. It's not just spam to anybody. There's a target segment we want to go after. That's the near term. And then the medium term, we're going to be looking at social and doing the viral stuff. And there's already examples of people in their 20s who are so much more willing to share their finances in some capacity. We're going to try to leverage that and create viral marketing.
Just as we sneak one in, why the move to Philadelphia? I mean, obviously it's great that you're here, but so many people go to California or whatever, or sure. In Wilmington, there's a little content. So
I guess the best answer to that is big fish in a little pond is a good answer to that. So, we can basically hand select the very best technologists, easier to find them. There's not a lot of opportunities for someone to work at a company like this in Philly. So it's a big career jump for people to work on this innovation and this international banking. We certainly could go to Silicon Valley and like that and something like that, but we'd be competing with thousands and thousands of other companies trying to do similar things, but not retail banking. The other reason is, Wilmington. There's lots of retail banking expertise in Wilmington. So we're trying to locate our office close to Wilmington. We've already pulled in some people from Capital One, Chase as an example. They have thousands of technologists. We want their top 1%.
What do you see as your biggest risks over the next 3 years?
3 years. I think our number one risk is there's although we talked how inexpensive cloud is, et cetera, and how easy it is to start up, getting to a profitable model in time, it will be critical. So there's a minimum efficient scale, especially with the B2B business, to get this working. So we have tons of demand. There's literally like 5 to 10 banks lining up to partner with us. But we're going to need to get to basically this product being an MVP most likely needs to be rewritten at some point. So I think that's a big risk point for us to get to that point and actually get that flywheel going, if you will.
What's the big risk to the financial system? Which we know from experience is always fragile when it goes through any kind of disruption.
As a whole? The biggest risk. I kind of looked at it as an optimist. I feel like this competition is going to help, not hurt. And I would say one of the risks is that the Illuminati bankers, if you will just squelch the innovation. Right? They'll just buy simple, they'll buy move in, and none of this great stuff we talk about will really come to fruition. Will a company really help somebody spend and save smarter? Or will they take over moving and turn it into, it kind of happened with ING Direct already. So they got bought by a big bank, they had this customer-centric model, and now they're selling to the customer whatever product they'll buy. So that's a big, so one of my personal passions for doing this is I had some other opportunities at like collections companies. So doing this to help people it's a big differentiator for me. Really trying to help people spend and save smart.
Okay, about 2 more minutes. Lynn and then Chad.
Could you say a little bit more about your revenue streams and your incentives? And how do you see, will we be pairing with social media, other aspects of social media to offer people more than banking? And what do you think motivates people in terms of using your services? Are you offering points, or do you see yourself offering more of a lifestyle issues that might be solved through using your?
Yeah, so it might not be a revenue stream per se. It's always hard to monetize something, but for social, I would definitely say that we do want to create a financial wellness atmosphere where people will potentially share their financial stories to help others. That would certainly be part of the equation at some point. The other part is we might use social data to do peer comparison. So and that's not, it's not a privacy thing. It's like we're pulling in anonymized data, and you're seeing how you're doing against people like you. So that might be something we use social for. Now, eventually, this can get smart enough. I mean, people are paying a financial advisor $700, right, to spit out a chart that anyone can do on Mint.com now. It's kind of silly. So why couldn't we charge $1 for something that helps them dramatically better than a financial advisor can? We're mostly focusing on spending and saving in the moment and not long-term financial planning. So, and no one else is really focusing there, even Mint. I mean, Mint, for example, has a mobile app, but it's not mobile. It's just pretty graphs of your net income, your net worth or whatnot. So there's nothing about Mint.com that helps you in the mobile moment, and ours does. So we think that aspect and using younger generation's desire to use mobile can certainly help people spend better.
Can you terminate my ability to buy coffee at Starbucks after a certain cap?
You'd have to set that yourself, yes.
But can you enforce it?
Right.
Chad?
You can, if your wife's on the account, you can suspend her card.
Oh, she suspend me.
Yeah, that won't work out too well. Yeah, Chad.
So I'm wondering about the cost of simplicity here. When I start seeing another social app or another social thing, or something else to put more information into, and as well, maybe you can clarify a little bit, maybe I missed in the talk, but where do the credit cards fit in with all the different hidden lines and everything that go into credit cards versus your system? I mean, I think something that would reduce the cost of moving money, like your original slide, and all the extra fees and all the extra percentages there,
Sure.
would be of value to me. But then I'm also wondering about what information is being pulled up, what information you're pulling from me from my other accounts, what picture are you pulling from me, and what are you selling off to other people?
Right.
I think I like the simplicity you showed about being able to manage your cards and merge things together.
Sure.
But I'm always wondering, like, all these new things are coming out. What's happening in the background that I'm not going to like?
Not going to like, or I can tell you what you might like.
I'm probably not going to like it. Even
well,
if it does benefit me in some ways, I think I'll still be leery about it.
Yeah, so let me give you an example a little bit what we might be doing in the future. So we don't have a credit product today, but a traditional bank sells people checking accounts and sells people credit cards separately. And if you're sitting there with $2,000 in your checking account and a $1,000 credit card balance, they'll happily leave it like that forever because they're getting big interest on the $1,000, which is silly. If your minimum checking account balance is always $2,000, why not just move the money over? So we have this concept of liquid money that we're thinking about, and the idea is that we might give you like real-time credit in the moment. So instead of you overdrafting and getting $35 in your checking account when you're sitting there with a credit card balance or a credit card account, we might in real time simply just give you a short line for $100 with a really good rate, not like a money store rate, and get you by, and then and on the other front, we would advise you if you've got a credit card balance and a debit balance at the same to move the money and maybe even automatically move it. I mean, honestly, it's a negative sign and a plus sign on the computer. That's how easy it should be.
Yeah.
So from our standpoint, I think, agreed, getting the system to work in a way that doesn't cause privacy concerns to know all that information, there's going to be an element of trust. And we do have to build trust in the market just like any brand to let people trust us to basically provide that financial info. But the hopes is if we gamify it and there's a social element, people will trust us to provide that because they're going to get value out of it. And you're already starting to see the general market is trusting more and more. There was actually a funny article out there. Someone did an analysis on a Venmo. Is anyone familiar with Venmo?
Yeah.
Payment. So Venmo is a P2P payment system, and there was this big social feed of everyone under 30 in the social feed saying Venmo is the best because Venmo, I share all my payments with people. I tell people I bought somebody coffee, I love it. And then everyone over 30 in the social feed was highlighted, and they were saying, why would you want to share about your financial info? So we could certainly see that, and quite literally, like hundreds of things, people marked it out. So we could see that there's a generational change. People are more willing to provide that. And if you think about it, I mean, Chase just got breached last week. So, our motive is to help you. Their motive is they have a product manager on credit card and a product manager on checking account. They barely ever talk. They will gladly sell you both products and make you lose and they win. Where we would just want to sell you the right thing for you and have this liquid money concept take over.
That's impressive. That's an awesome mission. So, thank you for coming out.